I'll put a trigger warning on this post because the trigger warning is important. We're going to talk about Yukio Mishima's final work, Sea of Fertility, and the four books that come under it. We are also going to discuss some themes that might be troublesome. So, trigger warning, shut this video if disturbing themes disturb you. Okay. Yukio Mishima came up with the concept of the Sea of Fertility series in 1964. And ever since he started working on the book, he kept telling people that he is not going to live to see the book get published. Now, when an author says something of this sort, obviously there's a tendency to not take that seriously because writers tend to be quirky. They say any random thing, right? And why would I take that seriously? Like, oh yeah, he's having premonitions about something. It's fine. He's Yukio Mishima. He'll be all right. Obviously, we now know that wasn't how things went on. He wrote the books, right? And I read these books finally. Book three and book four in particular are so disturbing to say the least because you see this man grappling with so many complex themes, but one theme in general, which is death, another corresponding theme, which is that of taking one's own life. Trigger warning once again, disturbing topics ahead. Quit the video if this disturbs you. So, when he said that I will not be alive to see these works come through, we can now read that to be his proclamation that he was going to choose to not be alive once this work got published. So the chronology of events was he submitted the drafts for the books, all four of them, and then he did what he did, took his life using ritualistic sacrifice for his cause, and while the stories in Sea of Fertility series are about Kyoaki and Honda and the reincarnations, so to speak, of one of the characters. The story is also about Yukio Mishima. The story is also about the changes that were coming to Japan post the Second World War. And when we talk about art influencing life and life influencing art and such, Yukio Mishima happens to be one of those authors who is also mentioned in history. And he's not just mentioned for his last huzzah, so to speak. He is mentioned for leading a lot of, I suppose, revolt based um, social and political events, right? So, um, when it comes to talking about autobiographical writing and how that does not only just impact the author, but also impact the readers, because it definitely does. It took me the longest time to pick up these books because these books contain within them some incredibly dark themes, some incredibly persuasive ideas about death and life and nationalism and corruption of the gentle corruption, I suppose, not outward corruption, the gentle corruption of a person's soul, which maybe also mirrors society. You don't even see those changes coming. See what I mean when I say that the books are as if you are reading somebody's journal, even though this is not a journal. This is Yukio Mishima writing four books of fiction under the Sea of Fertility series. Uh, when you look at what he did after submitting the drafts of this book on 25th November 1970. This is when the drafts of the books were submitted. It's fascinating to see that maybe this was a journal. Mishima wasn't coy about letting people know that he knew how his story ends. He knew for a very long time. His work, kind of in retrospect, tells a story of its own, whether it is the central situation in the running horse, whether it is his thoughts on self sacrifice, the harakiri thing, the seppuku thing, in book two of the Sea of Fertility specifically, him looking at different versions of death around the world, specifically the Hindu explanation of rebirth and things of the sort in book three of Sea of Fertility. And discussions between young friends about what death could represent in book one, and how an older person looks at death when parts of them have been dying a little bit for a very long time. It's he paints a picture. He paints a picture of what he was about to do. I remember reading this short story anthology of Yukio Mishima called Death in Midsummer and other short stories. There is this one story with a soldier and his young traditionalist conservative wife, and the way he writes about death as the final thing that you get as a reward for your actions. It paints a picture, it paints a vivid picture of what he was about to do. He also left letters for people in advance, letting them know that this would be the last letters they receive. A lot of his friends in New York, his publishers, a lot of people in Japan as well got these letters. And again, these were not goodbye letters, this was just casually mentioned. Like, yes, this is my last letter, that type of a thing. Why did I go into this massive blah about the book? Well, it is that a lot of writing tends to be autobiographical. And in assuming that, oh, it is just a writer being a writer, we forget what another book taught us. This book is called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And he says this is the least we could owe each other. That is, we look out for each other. You know, if someone is continuously talking about something dark, and they might be into dark jokes and dark humor, right? I'm not saying that people don't have preferences about darker themes. I can laugh at a dark joke, I do crack some occasionally, but when that becomes a pattern, that is the only thing that a person talks about again and again, that is more of a call for help, right? That is not just someone trying to make you laugh, that is someone that is looking for validation on something that has been going around in their head for a while. So when some writer friends of yours continuously talk about such themes like what Mishima used to, maybe check up on them, right? Because I'm not saying this is always the case, but maybe it is. A lot of dark thoughts, I think, a lot of dark thoughts are persuasive, and they are persuasive in this sinister way where they will convince you that your value is this one thing, and this one thing will come to life once your life stops. And this is this is where community, this is where camaraderie can step in. So if you notice some of your writer friends falling into, some deeper, darker themes and things like that, I'm not saying stop them. I'm just saying check up on them. That's it. Like, let them know that they could talk to you. Take care of them. uh, send them some messages telling them that they are important, things of the sort. Because I've heard of many stories of this sort. These stories are not from popular authors, these stories are from authors who sadly never made it into the limelight, so to speak. But mm, their writing very quickly kind of leached into their life. Okay, the life that they lived sadly ended up imitating the art that they created. And while that is an interesting plot for movies and TV shows, I think when it comes to real life, it's just sad. A life ending is just sad. Specifically, when the person was letting you know again and again and again that they are going to do this. Okay, take care of yourself. Happy reading, happy writing. And if you are going to read Sea of Fertility series, I'm going to put like a disclaimer, be in a good mental health situation when you do. Again, I will reiterate, a lot of this stuff is persuasive. And I think darkness and negativity has some kind of another persuasive power to it that unfortunately all sorts of positivity does not, right? So if you are not in a healthy state of mind and you read a book of this sort, it's very easy to, you know, go with the flow, so to speak. Okay, I'm done. Happy reading. Bye bye.